let's get started with fun with Python. Now, this live streaming uh, series will be on getting started with Python, and we will be building a project in every session. So that is the objective. Okay, so let's get started with fun with. So that is the objective of no, this series. So now let me share my screen, and then I will take you to some requirements which you would need so that you can start running Python. So the first thing is basically you have to install Python. So to install Python, you have to go to python.org, and that's where you can install Python. So you have to just go to downloads and you can install the latest version of Python. So you just simply click on this button and then it will download the installer, and then you click on the installer and then you go ahead with the installation. So one thing which you have to make sure is that you have to check the class path, to be included in the path. So you have to include the Python in the class in the path of your computer, so that whenever you're running Python command, it is able to recognize that. So that is a very important step. So you have to make sure that when you are installing on the first screen, you have to check that box which says add to path. So that's what you have to do. So once you have completed the installation of Python, the second thing which you have to install is VS Code. So you can actually, so basically it is Visual Studio Code. So that's where you have to go, right? And then you can complete the installation. You can install as per your system, and then you can go ahead and you can complete the installation. Okay, so that's what you have to do. Now, so once you have completed the installation, the way you can start Python is you have to launch terminal. So there are various ways in which you can run Python command. So now this can be sometimes confusing to people that know what exactly how to run the Python program. So now there are various ways, but every the way in which you're running the Python has its own purpose. So first of the way is you can actually go to your terminal in one for users who are on Windows computer. You can go to your command prompt, right? So you have to go to your search box, type CMD, open the command prompt, and type Python or Python 3 to launch the terminal. So I hope you're able to see my terminal. And if you can see this terminal, you see this 3 greater than sign, which means you are actually on the Python terminal. And you will also see that, okay, what is the version of Python you have? Anything 3.8 and above is fine. Now, this is a Python console. This gives you a way to write some simple commands on Python. So let me see. Okay. So, right. So what you can do is you can write simple commands. So what exactly is command? Command is basically an instruction which we give to the computer to do something. Now, the programming language gives you an environment through which you can give instructions to the computer to solve some problem. So for example, I can write some mathematical expressions like, I can say 2 + 3, and the computer has the ability to do this calculation and give us the result. Now, this is one of the things. I can do various things, like I can take input from the user. I can say enter your name, right? I can give this kind of prompt, and then user can enter this name. So I'm just entering the name, and we can capture this. So this is another instruction which we are giving, through which you can capture the information. So any programming language will give you ability to give instructions to the computer, so that you are able to basically solve some problem. So like, for example, I have this name, I can store in the name, right? So I'm saying Dhananjay, and then I have stored this name in a variable called name. Okay, so we will discuss about what exactly is variable in a little bit, but just understand that we are able to hold any information. And this instruction we can use to write a program. Like, for example, you're creating an application to greet a user. Okay, you want to say good evening or good morning. So you can capture the name and then you can greet the user. You can say, good evening. And then you can say name, right? You can say something like that. So it will say good evening, Dhananjay. So good evening, user. So like this, you can give instructions. So what I'm telling you is about Python console. This is where you can write command by command, and this console is completely interactive. As soon as you execute a command, you will get this interaction back. You'll get a response back immediately, and you can write a different command. So like this, you will be able to test out some of the functionality, some of the features. But this is not an ideal way to write meaningful programs or longer programs which are actually doing some job for you. Like, for example, simple programs can be like printing table of a number, or finding whether a number is a prime number, or finding area of figures, which we are going to do today. Then maybe creating your own games, right? All those different kind of things are there, which you can basically you will have to use different environment to write that program. Okay, so what is that environment? So that actually environment is VS Code, and we will come to VS Code in a little bit. So just understand that this is console. Now, other thing which you get with Python installation is called IDLE. Okay, so you get something called IDLE, and this IDLE is basically this is basically gives you this gives you first of all a console. So it's integrated development and learning environment. That's what it stands for. So again, this also gives you a console where you can write some programs, right? You can write some expression, some statements which will execute and give you output. And then you can IDLE gives you another way to write program through this mode. So what we call this as a script mode. And what we call this is okay. So this is actually interactive mode, because we are able to interact with it. And this is actually script mode. Okay, so now script mode is much more useful because you can now write longer programs and do something. Like, for example, let's say I want to take inputs from the user and then add them and show the result. So let's say I say input. Okay, I will say input. So I'll say enter first number, and so this whatever number user gives, we are going to convert it into integer. So we will actually use another command, int. Okay, int, which we will use to convert any input what user gives to an integer. And then we can store this. The input in one of the numbers, and then num2. So we'll say enter second number. So now this will give us two numbers, right? And what we want to do is we want to add them and print the result, right? So we'll say result is equal to num1 plus num2, right? And I want to just print the result. So I can say something like this. The sum is, right? And I can put a comma and I can say result. Now print, you can think is another command we call, actually it is a function, but you can think it's a command which we're giving, which will actually print any output on the console. Okay, so now we have written this program. This program looks fine to me. Let's run it and see if this is all good. So you can store it anywhere on your computer. So I will actually store it on my home. So you can create actually, so we will say Python work. So this is I'm creating a folder where I'm going to store some of the files, and then I have to give a name to the file. So this I will say addition. I'm giving name to this file and I'm giving it an extension .py. So my program is ready. Now to run this, I will have to go to this menu and I have to go to run and I have to say run module. Okay. When I say run module, then you see that it's giving me a prompt. It's giving me a prompt, enter first number and enter first number. So I can give any number. So let's say I'm giving 40, enter second number, I'm giving another number, let's say 50. And then it is able to add it and it's able to give me the output. Now I hope you're able to see this, right? So yeah, so now, so this is actually another way of running Python program. So we call this a script mode, and this is much better mode. But this file is actually stored on your computer, and you can execute this in a different way using Python command as well. So now this file, I will just show you where exactly it is on my computer. So if I go to home, and I had created a folder called Python work, and this is where my program is. So I can actually execute it by going to the command prompt. If you're on Windows, for users who are on Mac, you can go to your terminal application and then you can say cd, right? And then you go to this location and you can see that this file is available here. Now to execute this, I will just say Python 3 addition.py, and I'm able to execute this file even from the command prompt. Okay, so let me just give some number, and you see that it is able to execute this program and give us the output. Great. So now we have seen two ways of running Python program. One is through command line, which is the interactive mode, and then next we could see it on idle, in which again we have two modes. First one is the command mode, and the second one is the script mode, where you can write a full-fledged program. Now again, even though idle gives you a code editor, it's not a very rich code editor. So it's better to use something called VS Code, and VS Code is what I had asked you to install it. So once the installation is complete, you can start the VS Code, and so you can actually, so I'm just switching to my Python workspace, and that is the advantage of VS Code is VS Code gives you ability to execute different type of programs. Like you can write programs in Java, C, C++, you can do web development, you can write JavaScript. So it is one place where it gives you multiple ways of running the program. Not only that, you can write even code for your robotics projects. Like you can write code for Arduino, you can write artificial intelligence code. Okay, so all that you can do using VS Code. So today's session 1. So we have some programs here. So this is, I can actually just create a new file and I can create another program. So now, so let me just create another program, which is, let me say, so hello.py. Let's say hello world.py, right? So this is this is the first program which we are writing on VS Code. So for that, you have to first create this file, and then you give a name. Make sure that the Python files, they need to have an extension of .py. So let's write our first program, and this program we are going to just, it will be a hello world program. And to write it, we will just use our print command, right? And then we will just give it a command as hello world, right? So this is how we can get it done. Now, the exact details, what exactly is print, and this, what do we call this, letters, those things you will understand. But just to get you started, you just write the code like this. And now to run this, we can actually go to so again, so you have to go to terminal. Let me just close this. So now you go to terminal and then you say run task, right? Not really task, you have to say terminal, and then you have to say new terminal. and then I will select this location. And so I will go to session 1 and hello world, right? So this is my file, hello world. You can see that. Let me just run this. So I will use Python 3 command. If your Python, if you only one version of Python installed on your computer, then you can just simply use Python as a command. I have 2 versions of Python installed. Even I have Python 2. So if I, okay, so if I say Python, and then if I say hello world, okay, so Python is a command, not fine. So let me use Python 3. So no, either is fine. No, if you have only Python, one version of Python installed, then you can just simply execute Python and then the file name, or you can use Python 3 and the file name. Once we do that, then you see that we are able to execute this program, and this is how you can create your first program. So now, so this is about setting up your Python environment. Okay, now you have set up the environment, but let's understand what exactly is Python. Okay, so now what is exactly is Python, right? So now Python is a programming language, right? And programming language is a way for we humans to communicate with the computer. Okay, with the computer we can communicate with the computer by giving it the instructions. Computer will not understand plain and simple English, or it will not understand different languages, right? So what it understands, it understands the programming languages through which we can give instructions to the computer, and computer is going to write some program. Now let's do some simple calculation. If you see, we can do this kind of calculation, and it does the calculation. And we can also do this a calculation which is pretty complicated for us. If you see, this is a pretty long calculation which is going to take a lot of time for us, but for computer it is really very fast. Okay, so computer has this ability that it can execute your instructions really very fast, blazing fast speed. Okay, that is actually gives you a immense power to run your complicated task and get the results really fast. Okay, so now so that is what is about programming language, which is Python. Now, why do we write program? Now, the reason we write program is we want to solve some problem. Like, for example, we want to simplify something. For example, we want to, let's say, buy a ticket, right? We want to go to the movie theater and we want to buy a ticket. So we can use we can use a program. We can use a program to solve our problem. So somebody has created program called Book My Show. So somebody has created that. So I can just simply go to Book My Show, right? I can go to Book My Show, and then I can actually book a show, book the tickets. So this is actually a program. Now this program is nothing but they are the software. These are the website, these are the mobile apps, these are your games. All this is all software, right? So we have created these softwares are there to help us solve some problem, to make our lives really convenient. Okay, so that's why we write programs. And so now building a website like Book My Show will require knowledge of multiple technologies, right? It will require probably a knowledge of Python. It will also require web development knowledge. You should always also be aware about server-side programming, client-side programming. So there are various pieces of software or programming which you need to learn to put all these together and build a system like this. Okay. Now this system is built, and then now millions of people can actually really make their life easy. They can come on the system and then they can get the job done. Like this, there's various different softwares which are around us, right? So they make our life easy. So that is about the program. Program is nothing but the software, and the software helps us to do things in much easier way. Okay. So now, so you have understood about software. So now Python, where exactly we use Python? Now Python is actually also called general purpose programming language, right? And this has been invented by Guido van Rossum. Okay, so this is the gentleman who has invented this programming language. And it's a general purpose programming language, which means Python can be used in variety of different contexts. It can be used for game development. It can be used for web development. It can be used for server-side programming. It can be used for GUI development. Okay. You can also write some automation scripts using Python. Scientists use it. No, mathematicians use it to do different type of things. So now Python is actually really, no, it's actually the world's most popular programming language. If you look at the programming language ranking, you can see that. So here, so if you look at this, you see that Python is actually the #1 programming language, followed by Java. Then we have JavaScript. Right? So this is the place we can see. So Python, the reason Python is #1 at the moment is because of the simplicity and other factors as well. Python is not only easy to understand, but it's very intuitive. But it's incredibly powerful. It packs a lot of power. Which can help you write really a big logic using small number of lines of code. So that's what the Python provides you. Because of ease of development, a lot of scientists adopted Python, and because of that they were able to add a lot of libraries to it. So that has made Python very rich. And then a lot of data scientists also started using Python. And because of that, Python has become very popular in artificial intelligence and data science. So that's why popularity of Python is actually increasing by day. Okay, so that is basically about why Python is used so much. Now, so now you would have got general idea about Python. Now, programming, right? So what exactly is programming and how do we give instructions to the computer? Now, we have to actually give instructions in form of programs, and the way computer program is going to run it is going to execute a statement line by line from top to bottom. That's how all the programs will run. And then now you have to put your logic together that, okay, if my program is running step by step like this, then eventually I'm going to get this output. So your instructions is something which you have to frame in that order so that you are able to get that output. Okay, so that is what is the main part of the programming. Programming is just not about knowing syntax or knowing, okay, I know if and else, or I know how to create for loop. That's okay, that's fine. But the main idea about learning programming is that you should have an ability to build a logic. Okay, like for example, I want to create another program, and I will say new program. I'll say table of a number. I will just write this program, and in this I will say, so I want to write a program which will give me table of a number. Now this number can be anything. This number can be, let's say, 19. Now, no, I don't really remember the table of 19. So maybe you remember, but let's say if you know programming and you're really smart, and then you have to write these all programs. So then what you can say, you can just simply write this simple code. So, and the code has to follow certain order. So I'll say for I in range. So don't understand about the syntax and all. These are the things which we are going to cover in detail. So I will say something like this, right? So this is something which we'll cover later. I'm just giving an example that how to structure a program. So writing the program in a proper order, in the proper sequence of instructions is very important. So then I will say print, and I will say num into I. So this is what I'm doing. And now if I run this Python 3 table of a number, you see I'm getting this no table, this kind of table. Now you can format it also. Let's say I want to format it exactly in the way we are used to. So I'll say num and x, and then I will say I, and then I will say equal. So this will give me the proper format which we generally want to see when it comes to a table of a number. Now you see that this instruction is very important. The sequence of the instructions are very important. I cannot just simply take this num and put it below and then say, okay, it should work. Actually, it will not work. It will, anyway, it is not able to recognize this. So when I run this, it says, okay, I don't understand what is num, because Python will start running the program, and that is what every programming language follows. It will start running program from top to bottom. Okay. So, and then what is happening is when it is running a program from top to bottom, it encounters for loop. It is fine with that, but it encounters this is statement, right? It comes to statement number 4 and sees, oh, there's a num here, and I don't understand what is num. So for this program to work fine, we have to define num above, so that when this program starts executing, this instruction is executed first, and then then our line 3 is executed and line 4 is executed. Okay, there's nothing in line 2, so nothing will be executed here. So this sequence is really very important. Okay, let's write another program. So we will just say swapping, just to swap two numbers. So two numbers dot py, right? So we are just writing the swap two numbers. What is swapping? Swapping is basically exchanging the number. So let's say I have a storage place. We call it variable. Variable is nothing. Variable is nothing, but it's a way to store the value, right? So I'm saying variable x, and then I say I'm storing some value on this. Let's say I'm storing 25, and then I have variable y. I have another variable. In a program, you can create multiple variables to hold the values. Now I want to swap these two numbers. I want to swap the values of these two variables. So after I have run the program, x should actually hold the value which y is holding, and y should hold the value which x is holding. Okay, so I really cannot say, I cannot do like, no, x is equal to 50 and y is equal to 25, right? Because I'm manually doing it. I'm just seeing this value and I'm just putting it manually. But this value can be anything, right? This value can be even taken as an input from the user. So how do we do that? So we have to write a program so that the program does that exchange for me. So now in this, again, you see that again the program structure is very important, because now we call this statement as an assignment statement. We are assigning this value 25 to a variable called x. X is nothing but a variable. It's a placeholder. It is a container which is holding a value. Okay, and then you can use this x to manipulate. It's actually like your algebra. If you're in grade 7 or 8, then you would know algebra, right? So where you have a placeholder to which you hold a value, and then you can perform the calculation. Similarly, you're holding some value. Now we call this as an assignment operator, assignment statement, assignment statement, right? And we are assigning this value, and this assignment always will happen from right to left. The assignment will always happen from right to left. Okay, from 25 to x. This is how the assignment will happen. No, it will always happen from right to left, right? So for example, if I say x is equal to y, again, this is an assignment statement in which the value assignment statement in which value of y will be assigned to x. Okay, it will not be other way around. Value of x will not be assigned to y, because y is on the right side and x is on the left side. So that's how it will happen. So now if I do that, then what will happen is whatever value is stored in y will again be stored in x, right? So x will actually get 50, but the value of x will be lost. So to swap these two numbers, we have to first store this number in, let's say we can use another variable. We can say Z. So we are storing this number X in Z, right? So this variable names can be any names. We will be discussing about variables a bit later, but these variable names can be anything. And I'm just using a variable name X. You can create any number of variables in your program as per your requirement. Now, so what has happened is when the program is executing from top to bottom, line 2, line 3 will be executed. Where the assignments will happen, X will get 25, Y will get 50. Then Z will get the value of X. So Z will hold value called value 25. So X value is being held by Z. Now this line can be executed without any problem. And now I can say that X, or rather we have to say something like this. So I have this X value held in this thing. Now Y value is being assigned to X. So I can say Y is equal to actually Z, right? So now if I print value of X, right, and then if I print value of Y, then I should get that, okay, value of X is actually equal to 50 and the value of Y is equal to 25. That's what I should get. So let's just run this program and then swap two numbers. And you see, indeed, we are getting this. So value of X is 50 and then the value of Y has become 25. Okay, so we are able to successfully complete this program. But to understand this program, you have to again see that the execution of this program is happening from top to bottom. Okay, top to bottom, and there's a proper sequence which a programming language will follow, right? So programming language, the way it is created, it has certain rules, certain way in which it executes. Okay, so Python will execute the statements like this, right? So from top to bottom, and the assignment will happen from right to left. Okay, so now so these are the things which you have to understand, and these are things, these are the features and the and basically the language syntax which you have to understand. Now you have grammar and syntax in any language, right, which we use for communication. Similarly, to communicate to the computer, when you're using Python, you should understand how to really create those statements and how to create those use those syntax to use it the way you want. Now you see that the program can be of any type, right? It can be like a game, or it can be a desktop UI, it could be a server code, right? It could be a website. All different types of things are there. So for that, Python is really very rich. So to master Python, it does take time. Getting started with Python, it is very quick to start, but to really become champion master of it, it will take some time for you to really learn and understand these syntax, and not only just learn, but create your own programs. And then you create your programs and then you run them to understand all these things, right? So fine. So now that is the importance of following the order. And once you have started writing, then once you'll start becoming comfortable, then you can turn around, change around, and do things much more comfortably. But you have to still follow the rules and the syntax of a programming language. Okay, so now coming to our project for today's session, which is basically calculating area of a figure. So for example, let's say your teacher assigns your assignment. Okay, so here you have to find area of circle, you have to find area of square, you have to find area of rectangle, and these are dimensions. You have to do it. So if you know Python, if you're expert in Python, then what you can do is you can simply create programs for that, right? So let's create some programs to calculate area of the figures. Now, to calculate the area of figures, one thing which is there is you should know the mathematics, right? Programming is not magic. Programming is your instructions executed by the computer. So now let's write this. We'll write. So we'll say, let's say area of figure. Okay, so we already have that. So let's say area of circle, right? So we can create an area of circle. Okay, so we already have this file also. So we'll just change the name. So we'll say areas.py. Okay, so we have areas. Okay, so this is our file name, areas.py. Now what we will do is, let's say we want to create, find area of circle, right? So we will start with that, or maybe let's start with a simpler one. Let's start with area of a square. Now I'm sure you know what is the formula for area of square. So area of square is equal to side into side. That's what you do, right? So now side is the length of one side of the square. So we can also use user's input, right? So we'll say enter the length of square. Okay, we can say enter the length of square. So user will enter, and then we will actually convert it into integer, right? We'll convert it into integer, and then we will calculate this area, and then we can simply print area of square is, and we will just do something like this, and then we'll say area of square, and this is what we are able to do now. So this will actually let us calculate the area of square and print it, right? So now let's look at this code line by line. So line 1 is actually called comments. Okay, so line 1 is the comments. Now comments is it's kind of a documentation which you're telling about the program. Now we are putting a hash in front, which gives the instruction to Python that this is a comment, you don't have to execute. Okay, so Python is going to ignore these lines which have hash, and because it will understand that this is comments, so it will actually it will not execute it. So now we have this side, and then we have done this calculation, and then we are printing this area of square, right? So this is what we have done. Now we can actually test and run it. We have not written program for area of circle. We will come to it. But you see that the mathematics, you should know. The computer is not a magic that you just write, oh, hey, give me area of a square, which has side 10. Computer will say, okay, I don't know how to calculate area of square. So you will have to write the maths. You have to provide the logic, right? Computer's job is just to execute that logic. Okay, that's what Python is going to do. It is just going to execute this logic. So let's run this Python 3 areas, right? So this is my code. So enter the length of square. So we'll say, let's try 25. So we should get 625. And we are getting 625, right? So this is what we get. So we're getting this 625 as the area of a square whose length is 25. Like that, you can actually run for multiple values. You can say 15, 225. You can say, okay, 10 should give us 100. So you can write all this program like that, right? So now another thing is, writing program in VS Code gives you that advantage that even if you close this, you still have this program saved with you. Even if you shut down your computer, when you open your computer, you start the VS Code, you can still see the sessions. Okay, you can still see the sessions, right? So that is what is there. Now let's write area of circle. Okay, let's write area of circle. Now again, area of circle, you need to know the math. So area of circle requires radius. Okay, So radius, right? Now radius, so let's me just to tell for students who really don't understand what exactly is radius, the radius of circle. Okay, so you can see that the radius of a circle is the distance from the center of the circle to the periphery. We call it circumference. Okay, we call it circumference. So this is the radius, basically. This length is the radius. So to find the area of the circle, you need to know the radius. Okay, so let's say we know the radius, or let's say we take the radius from the user. Now to take any input from the user, again, we are going to use the input function. So Python is very intuitive. So because we have to take input from the user, we will use input function. Input function is just a command which does one thing for us. In this case, input function will take the input from the user and give it to our program. So here we will say enter the radius of the circle. Okay, so once we get the radius of the circle, now we need to know the formula. Now the formula is area of circle is equal to, you say, pi r square. So r square means r into r. So that's what we have to do. Now this radius we can store to r, and we can say input, right? We can say input and enter the radius of the circle. What are the radius we are getting from the user? We are going to convert it into integer, and then we are going to assign it to r. Now, what is the value of pi? Now, value of pi, we can assign a value of pi. Now, we know that value of pi is 3.114, 3.14. You can also say it's 22/7. Okay, so we have got this pi, and then this is the formula. And now simply we can say print area of circle is equal to area of circle, right? So we have done this. You see that we have this maths. We need to know our maths. Okay, so programming again is instructions which we are giving to program to our program, but we need to know the maths. Okay, so we have done this calculation and we are getting this area of circle. So now let's run this. Okay, so again it's asking us length. Let's give some length for the square. It's giving me this 100. Now again, you see our instructions are executing from top to bottom. So first it waited at this line. It was expecting an input from the user. It waited. So as soon as it got the input, it executed these lines. And again, now it is waiting for the input from the user, is waiting at this line and saying enter the radius of the circle. So let's say we give the radius again. Let's say we give radius as 20, right? So we give the radius as 20, and it is able to give us the result. It is able to give us the area. So now the same calculation, you may think that no, I can do it. No, if I have to know the math, then I can do it by myself, right? I can do all this. Yeah, you can do that, and that is how all logic is written. But now the advantage of programming comes in is, let's say if you want to do a calculation for 457. Now this may be a little harder for you to do. Now enter the radius of the circle. Let's say you have to find the area of a circle whose radius is 65. Again, this will be a complicated calculation for you to do with pen and paper. You can use a calculator again, but you have to again write those same values again and again. But in our case, we just have to input the radius because we have framed a logic. Now we can actually just input the radius, and we are getting this area of circle. This program you can use many times for many values. So that's the advantage of programming which you're getting. You can reuse your programs multiple times. Okay, so great. So we have created this program. Now you may also want to create area of rectangle, that is angle. Again, you need to know your math. So rectangle requires length and breadth. So we'll say area of rectangle is equal to L into B, right? L into B. So that is, no, we are saying length and breadth. So we have to take this value of length is equal to, we can assign a value for this case. If we don't want to make this program completely generic, we can assign this value of length and breadth, and we can calculate this area of rectangle, and then we can just simply print out area of rectangle is equal to, and then you'll say area of rectangle. Okay, so this is what we have to do. You can, again, if you want to take the input from the user, you can take the inputs again for this. Now let's run this. It will ask the LEN. So 10, let's say 20. Okay, and it has calculated the area of the rectangle. Okay, so by multiplying 35 into 25, and that is again the maths which you need to know. Okay, so this is how you can create your programs. You can enhance this program with more shapes. You can include rectangle. You can include trapezium. Even you can include the surface area of 3D figures, right? So all that you can do. You can create your own library of areas of figures, right? And you can use the libraries for your different assignment, different work, right? So this is how you will be able to create program like this. So if you already know Python, then this session would be more of a refresher. But when we move ahead, we are going to cover more and more advanced topics. Okay, so I think that's it. Now I think that's all we have. Now let me just check if you guys have any question on the topic. Be more of a refresher, but when we move ahead, we are going to cover more and more advanced topics. Okay, so I think that's fine. So I think that's it. Okay, so that's it. We will then stop the class here. So we will see you not next week, because next week I'm traveling. So we will see you week after the next week. Okay, so in the week of 10 January, around that 11, 12, we will see you on Thursday. Okay, so have a great evening, and then have a happy new year. Okay, happy holidays, and I'll see you in about 2 weeks time. Bye bye, take care.